efforts in Ukraine, the last thing you want to do is drop your guard.
So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Cleach should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking, in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Cleach and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. I just think Cleach going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities, while Nuland refers to getting the United Nations involved in a political solution. And that's where the unfortunate comment arises.
I'm obviously not going to comment on private diplomatic conversations, other than to say it was pretty impressive tradecraft. The audio was extremely clear.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you. We're here from America. Would you like some bread? Please take something. Thank you for coming.
This was Nuland and Pyatt visiting Independence Square in Kiev in December, handing out food to protesters and police. This latest episode is embarrassing for the US and allows Russia to argue that the opposition is being manipulated by Washington, something that Barack Obama has always denied. The clip was said to have been posted online by the Russian deputy PM, but that has not yet been confirmed.
All right. That's Victoria Nuland. She's no longer there. She helps run a think tank with getting huge money from the government with her sister-in-law. All about war, all about war. I remember a time when I was told if women were in charge, there'd be no war. But Victoria Nuland, I'm not going to do it now, but I do want to do it so you see that it's not about me or some belief that is atrocious. What's going on in the world right now is the dying stages of a London empire, which, in my opinion, the United States took over, but never quite was leading the world's subterfuge, I guess. I learned that, or at least it occurred to me when the Deepwater Horizon well blew out. It was my opinion, along with Matt Simmons, who I think died unnaturally at age 63, which is young. But I think that British Petroleum treated the United States of America as just one other colony, one other part of the world it could destroy for power back home. So anyway, I think what's going on is the banking system is under a great deal of stress, particularly the British financial system, which I think as much as we like to think we're the most powerful country in the world, I think we are, but I think our financial structures are still driven very much by the city of London. New York's in there, Japan's in there, but it's it's a compounding of interest and collateralization game that's been going on for 400 years or more. And it's nearly over. I think the European Union is headed to dissolution. I think the currency, the euro currency, could end up in no better than Nicaragua. Is not Nicaragua. I'm thinking of a different country, but in hyperinflation and just being wiped out. Anyway, this explains a lot of what's going on with Russia. I think it's the banks, and unfortunately, there's no way to dance around it. I think it's the hatred built up, in their world. It's not my world, it's not our world, but in their world of the czarist destruction of Jewish communities and people. And Victoria Nuland, her husband, and a lot of the banking system and the policymakers in the United States continue that hatred toward Russia. Is it because their great-grandparents and their grandparents were targeted? I don't know. I don't know if it's that simple, but it's the assets of Russia, as Barack Obama referred to the Russia, a gas station with a government or something like that, just a regional power. Well, Putin knows this attitude. He saw what happened to the ruble in the late 90s. He saw the attempt to take over the assets by the oligarchs, who were all backed by the London, New York, Tel Aviv money. And I don't know. We live in a world where Zionists are supremacists, but they're also victims. So you got to be careful what you say. But my point isn't to get into that argument. Number one, I'm not going to win it or change anybody's mind. I'm just here to point out that we live in a financial system which is driven by much greater forces than whether or not Paul Atkins is going to enforce settlement. And that's just a fact. And I think we're running out of time, and I think it's a luxury to let me put it this way. Even if Paul Atkins and Donald Trump were to change settlement in the U.S. markets, I don't think the process could happen quickly enough that you are going to be in a position to let's skip survive. Let's just talk about thrive, maybe make money with what's coming. And what's coming is severe. It's, I hope it can get stretched out. But, Musk just targeted Trump. And I think they're going to bring out all I want to use a word that's too strong. They're going to bring out all powers that they have to bring down Trump. So we're going to go the route that AOC, Kamala, it's not them, it's who owns them. And if you want to continue to say that truth and Trump are oxymoronic, if you want to listen to CNN and Rachel Maddow, go ahead. But you're not going to be ready for what's coming. You're just not. And I'm not saying I have it all sussed at all, but I will tell you that BlackRock has more power than we do. BlackRock owns the media. BlackRock bought Panama Canal for Trump. BlackRock sits next to Trump. BlackRock backs up Israel. BlackRock backs up Zelensky. BlackRock, BlackRock, BlackRock. Is it as simple? Is it as simple as leftover hatred from what the czar did? I don't know. I don't know. All I know is they want the assets. They want the assets. And that's the leftover of the British system. And it's colonial. And Putin's not going to give up $90 trillion worth of assets just because Germany's going down or just because London's going down. And I don't know how you and I survive it. If I have to continue to argue with people that Trump is somehow untruthful, and that's the only thing that matters, I'm just arguing with people who are either idiots or they just haven't seen it yet. They're just caught up in their own storyline, and CNN and the Washington Post back them up. But if you want yourself to be able over the next 5 to 10 years, 15 years, to not only survive financially, but maybe thrive, that's my goal. I want you to be, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, a Jew, atheist, a Muslim, a Catholic, tall, short, a female, a man, a Indian or an Indian, Pakistani or Afghani. I really don't care. I just want you as a human being with your family, your loved ones, and your friends to maybe get through this. And, I hope I'm wrong. But I don't come to this with some last minute, it's in the news headline. We have some real changes coming worldwide. And I don't know how to fight it other than trying to help you. I don't know about being rich. I don't know what rich means, but being financially strong, being financially independent of the banking system. The banks and the Wall Street want you to be enslaved, and they want you to be idiots, and they want you to believe that Trump and truth are oxymoronic. I mean, I don't know what you think of one of Joe Biden's pardons was signed within his signature. It was for his son. The rest were all auto-penned by 23-year-old girls and boys. Apparently Jill Biden's aide-de-camp, I forget his name, ran the country. That's truthful? I guess it is. I guess in a world of CNN and hatred for Trump, that's truthful. Look, Trump has got a tough job, but he's trying to do it, and I give him credit for that very much. I don't believe he was on Epstein Island. Don't you think the Democrats would have poured that out if he were? They had, when Liz Cheney ran those committees, they had the chance to pour that out. I don't think Trump. I think Elon Musk, unfortunately, and I think that's something you got to be careful of. I don't know what his stock's doing today, but I'd be really careful of his stock. He's not going to recover. What I learned as a man, I don't know how women experience the workforce. But I learned that if you're not reliable, they don't call on you. They need you to be reliable and not unpredictable. And Musk has destroyed himself. Trump will try to help him, I think, because there's 2 people in space, or a handful of people in space. But I wouldn't want to be anywhere near SpaceX or even Tesla going forward. I think, but men can recover. Men can recover from moments of anger if they're sincere. So we'll hope they'll get together. I'll look at some of these questions first, but here's my proposal today. It's 11 o'clock. I was watching Musetti Alcaraz, and I think Alcaraz has now got the match under control. And it's just too much tennis now for me to watch the entirety of that. I want to watch Djokovic at 1, I think. I've got to look it up. So I don't have much time to get this through to you. But okay, let me give the Jennifer disclosure. My Jennifer disclosure. This channel is mine. It's not Jennifer's. It's not Tony Dennaro's. It's not Lion of all trades. It's not anybody else's but mine. I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to do anymore, but I don't think my job is complete. I do this with my own editorialism, my own opinion. Everything I say is opinion. Everything I say is editorial. It's journalism, I guess, because there is no real journalism. But I'm not a trained journalist. It's not financial advice in any way, shape, or form. Why? Because I don't know you. I don't have a fiduciary responsibility to you. I don't know your situation. I don't know if buying something is a frivolous toss of the hat or if it ties up your rent for the month. I can't give financial advice. If it sounds like it, it's just the complication of the English language. I am not giving financial advice. Also, I want you to consider seriously Railtown AI Technologies, RLAIF, and I want you to consider it today. I am not a consultant for Railtown AI Technologies. I have not been given shares or paid anything for Railtown AI Technologies, Inc. The company doesn't even know who I am. I do not have a contract with them. I will not appear in Jennifer's 8K or 10K as it relates to Railtown AI Technologies. In fact, I'm not sure where they are. I'm not sure they want me even giving my opinion. So they may never talk to me. I don't know. Now, I also want to make it clear, I do not object to companies paying people cash, expenses, trips, computers, shares, warrants to promote or to act as an investor resource or to tell the story of a company. I don't have any problem with it. I think Lou did it. I know Frank Benedetto does it. Others in your community do it. I think it's perfectly fine because right now there's nobody telling the story of these small companies, and that's why the slaughter goes on. And it's designed by the big banks. It's designed for the big pools of money. That's all it is. And if you want to feel like, systems are in place, go ahead. Go ahead. The best advice I ever got from a friend that I trust very much, she said, why don't we just invest in the mutual funds and the ETFs? They'll give us 7 or 8% and let them make whatever they want. Well, maybe that's the place. I don't think that model's going to last forever, but maybe that's what to do. Just take what they give us while they make 30, 40, 50, 100%. So I guess that's my disclosure. It's an incomplete disclosure. I seek the protection of all disclosures you've ever read and the completeness of a true disclosure as it relates to financial situations. When I talk, it's not a solicitation. It's not an offer. It's not trying to get you to buy. It's just not. So that's my Jennifer disclosure. And I guess my Stony Bones disclosure as well. Before I get into Railtown, I want to just recall to your attention July 2 years ago, Market Frauds wrote Moez Kassam and the Anson funds, the big secret. That's the toad I referred to. A face only a mother could love. Part 1, Moez Kassam and Anson funds, a tale of corruption, greed, and failure. How Anson funds skirts naked shorting rules with help from big banks, brokers, and European regulators. Part 2, Moez Kassam and Anson funds, rotten to the core. My love is rotten to the core. Part 3, Moez Kassam and Anson funds, panic as DOJ widens investigation 2 years ago. Part 4, selling everyone out. And this is, doesn't say which one this is. I assume it's either part 4 or part 5, but here it is. Moez Kassam and Anson funds, the big secret. That's the toad. That's the toad. Moez Kassam. The big fat toad. 3 dirty words have helped destroy the Canadian capital markets. Direct market access, or the pipes. The pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses dying. 'Tis you must bide and I must something or other. But come ye back. All right, 3 dirty little words have helped destroy the Canadian capital markets, direct market access, or the pipes, as it's known in banking circles. Anyone can trade through these pipes, and banks and brokers are not held responsible for their clients' activities in these pipes. Did you hear that? Banks are not held responsible in these pipes. Yeah, 6-0. Yeah, it's a walkover. I knew it. I knew it would be over. So Alcaraz is in the final. Djokovic might be coming on any time. Well, I want to get this across to you on Railtown. So if I miss Djokovic a bit, I'll just miss it. It says 10 a.m. I thought it was going to be 1 p.m. It says 10 a.m. Sorry. Well, it's 11:20 anyway. Let me see what it says under the Djokovic. It says 10 a.m. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Brokers are not held responsible for their clients' activities in these pipes. Banks have no idea what is going on in the pipes. They can guess who the players are that are trading, but they cannot actually see what is going on. And remember, Ann Wagner. Man, it's good to have women in positions of power. They're so much better than men. I'm not saying that men are better. It's just I don't see any great hallelujah having Ann Wagner overseeing the financial regulatory system. Prior to the advent of direct market access, the business used to be that a client already has some sort of relationship established with a bank or broker that gave them access to trading fills and new issues, and also the critical rule of know your client. It was a people's business, more or less, but with direct market access, anyone from anywhere can jump in and manipulate markets, and no one can easily see what they are doing. Ann Wagner. A consolidated audit trail is a sweeping violation of privacy. Well, what's Planetaire doing now? Whatever the name of that company is. She doesn't care. As long as she's paid off from Goldman Sachs and her daughter can go to Stanford or wherever the hell. Direct market access goes through the major banks and brokers, such as CIBC, TD Bank, RBC, National, Canaccord, etc. These are all Canadian. How does it work? Let's say someone is using CIBC direct market access. That's the three little words, direct market access, and wants to bounce a trade, bounce. Would you like to come upstairs for a little bouncy? And wants to bounce a trade from Germany through Ireland into the TD pipe to trade a Canadian equity. It's pretty easy to do. TD Bank has stated in the past that wherever the trade is implemented, wherever the trade is entered, they have the onus. Wherever it's implemented, that organization has the onus to make sure that the client has the borrow and that it's marked properly. In other words, TD Bank bears none of the responsibility whatsoever. Anson's fund's big secret: trading North American equities through European brokers. Let's go back to 2013 when when Anson Funds discovered the major loophole in the European markets that would enable it to sell naked short American and Canadian equities via Europe. This information has been given to us by a broker who used to work very closely with the Toad, with Anson, In Europe, there have been, my eyesight is better than it was, but not as good as I would like it to be. In Europe, it's also poorly written. This is what they wrote. In Europe, there have very strong short selling rules. So that no wonder I'm tripping over it. In Europe, they have there are. It's either they have or there are, but whatever. It's not there have very strong. So anyway, in Europe, they have very strong short selling rules. For European companies, naked shorting is prohibited. Any short positions over 0.1%, any short positions in European companies over 0.1% have to be disclosed to the regulator publicly. That's Europe. This is our allies in NATO who are getting us into World War III because they're run by a woman out of Brussels who's never been punched in the nose. Men get punched in the nose. If men start a fight, they'll get punched in the nose. Their arm will get broken. If a woman starts a fight, cutie, what's wrong? Sweetheart, what is it? What's on your mind? So they don't know the consequences. Men know the consequences. But hey, let's put women in charge. I'm not picking on women. I'm picking on Europe right now. Because there are men there too. Starmer is an example. If your primary exchange is foreign to Europe, these rules are completely exempted. So short selling rules, which are strict in Europe, are completely exempted if your primary exchange is outside of Europe. This loophole allows you to naked short. This loophole allows you to naked short. You do not have to disclose your short positions. And you are exempt from rules in relation to fail to deliver penalties. 2 years ago. What this means is that there are no regulations in Europe about trading foreign securities. What this means is there are no regulations in Europe about trading foreign securities. You do not need to have the stock to sell because no one is checking. European regulators are not holding this information or even investigating failing North American trades. It may be difficult particularly if you're retired from the American Stock Exchange, it may be difficult for many market observers to believe this level of regulatory inefficiency. It's not inefficient, it's intentional. However, it's easy enough to prove. The Europeans did have a buy-in rule for failing trades, but they failed to enforce it. Even if it had been enforced, US and Canadian companies would still be exempted. Literature from the ESMA, European Securities and Market Authority, explains why this exemption exists for US and Canadian companies. And the rationale is quite shocking. The ESMA didn't want to duplicate paperwork for people trading these North American securities because they believed the SEC or FINRA was monitoring everything. FINRA and at the SEC, however, say they are not monitoring anything at all. The trades in Europe are not even on the consolidated tape. The trades in Europe are not even on the consolidated tape. So I bring up the Greek from COSM. Oh, you're blaming it on a dead man. His accounts are in Greece and Europe. I bring up the Iranian that lives in Switzerland and the founder of Aubrey Advisor lives in Switzerland. Where do you think his accounts are? Oh, you're being sick of it. Sick of it. If you want to be woke, you can go broke. I don't want anybody here going broke. For FINRA's part, the agency has what is called the Consolidated Audit Trail for FINRA's part. However, that Consolidated Audit Trail does not pick up anything that is going on in Europe. The SEC, for its part, only monitors fails to deliver from the NSCC, which only started operating in Europe at the tail end of 2022. For Canada, the same exemptions apply. Also, the Canadian regulators are understaffed and underfinanced and have no hope of keeping on top of foreign market transactions in Canadian securities. How the toad and others trade in Europe. First of all, it's very easy to do. I call him the toad. It's actually, the sentence says, how Anson funds and others trade in Europe. Anyone can pay 750 euros to become what is called a specialist in Frankfurt. This specialist, sorry, I misread it. Anyone can pay 750 euros to what is called a specialist in Frankfurt. This specialist will apply for you, get your application passed, and get you into the cash market. The next step is to get someone called a designated sponsor. This is very easy to do. They will sponsor you with liquidity. And once you get those liquidity requirements, you can get up onto the electronic exchange. Once you are up and running in Germany, for instance, you are good to go. You have the ability to create liquidity and sell stock. So let's say you are the toad and you want to sell 500,000 shares of Afria, which you do not own. This trade is implemented in Germany. It then bounces to the dark pools in Ireland before entering the above-mentioned pipe. It can be any bank or broker in Germany, and it just depends on what tolling agreement they have with whichever bank. If you want to trade a Canadian security, you can trade it with any bank in the world that has access to the pipes. They may even have to go through another bank in order to gain that access. You can sell stock because there is no naked short enforcement and no one is even looking. This counterfeit electronic stock is difficult to track as a lot of the players are working together, and it's possible to settle outside the clearance system. No one will ever see it, and no one has the ability to track it, and Ann Wagner couldn't give a flying fig. It's that simple. Continuing with the above example of Afria, during the November-December period, this is in 2022, when Andrew left and Quintessential attacked the stock, there was a huge amount of activity coming out of various accounts in Europe, especially Germany. Tip for the regulators: look offshore for Anson's Afria trades. There is evidence in the United States and Canada, but we've been advised that a large amount of their trading occurred offshore. As mentioned above, Germany is a good place to start. This is the Market Frauds of Toronto group. We have been in touch with a number of people involved in the GameStop squeeze as well. And they were the first to spot this suspicious activity coming out of Europe. Of course, they don't believe it's really bad. They still buy the stock every time it goes up. They say it's going to squeeze and you better get in. It's 27, it's going to go to 60. No one believes what's in front of their eyes. And we don't have much more time for this extravagance of ignoring facts. We have to look at facts as best we can figure them out. The GameStop group requested that the German regulator and the German central bank provide them with the failed to deliver data for GameStop over a period of 3 years. The German authorities refused, precisely because they do not have the data, and Ann Wagner couldn't care less. According to the German regulator, the only failed to deliver data they keep track of is the top 10 participants. In other words, only the top 10 brokers that are failing to deliver the most. The regulator then reaches out to these 10 brokers who are failing and tries to work with them to resolve the fails. The German regulator confirmed that they did not know if any particular company was being targeted. The regulators were asked why there was no safety mechanisms in place, why they are only looking at aggregated data and not individual companies, and what they are actually doing to protect individual companies from naked shorting and counterfeiting of shares. The regulators have not responded to these inquiries. This is a major problem facing all Canadian and US equities, and something hedge funds such as Anson funds have been using to attack companies and make huge profits whilst hiding their nefarious activities from the regulators. Why hide? Ann Wagner doesn't care. She's an idiot, by the way. She's a functioning idiot. Lots of these stocks also trade on LiquidNet, owned by TPI-CAP. This is the biggest intra-broker network where the brokers trade amongst each other, which is X-clearing. X-clearing. In other words, off exchange, where trades are not being fed into the consolidated tape. Who cares? Ann Wagner thinks that's a violation of privacy. And that privacy is so important because you would find out what the criminals are doing. Because of this, it is impossible to have any level of transparency at all. This is a key reason why the Canadian and US regulators find it almost impossible to police the abuses going on in the markets. All of the major funds are in Europe. All of the major US funds, Canadian funds, are in Europe and have applied for the naked shorting exemptions. These exemptions are a license to print money and escape the scrutiny of the US/Canadian regulators. This is the biggest financial scandal you have never heard about. Take a look below. Take a look below at the image, which will help the non-believers. That's Tony DeNaro and all the people that criticize those who were doing their level best to fight this. They blame it on pump and dumpers because they're part of it. They're part of it, in my opinion. And they're not doing it for free. This will help the non-believers understand the scale of the problem. Please remember, this is just one of the clearing houses in Europe, of which there are many. CSDR Settlement Fails Report 2022. Reporting period. CSDR Settlement Fails Report 2022. CSD name. Clearstream Banking AG. Clearstream Banking AG. Legal entity identifier. Well, it's longer than a hard wallet. Securities settlement system, the Cascade. Settlement fails data. Failure to deliver securities. Number of settlement fails, 13,249,747. Value in euros of settlement fails, 27 trillion 509 billion 451 million 817,472. Rate of settlement fails based on volume, 8.99%. Rate of settlement fails based on value, 23.42%. Failure to deliver cash. Number of settlement fails. Failure to deliver cash. Number of times, 1,868,854 times events. Value in euros of the settlement fails for cash, 2 trillion 103 billion 819 million 373,161 euros. Rate of settlement fails based on volume in cash, 1.27%. Rate of settlement fails based on value for cash, 1.79%. Settlement fails due to lack of securities or lack of cash. Settlement fails due to lack of securities or lack of cash. 15,118,601 events. Value in euros of settlement fails, 29 trillion 613 billion 271 million 190,633 euros. Rate of settlement fails based on volume, 10.26%. Rate of settlement fails based on value, 25.21%. Total number of settlement instructions, total value of settlement instructions. I think that's just the totals. I'm not going to read them out. So Market Frauds continues to write in this article, over 27.5 trillion, over 27.5 trillion, T, Tom, Tiger, titillate, Trump, truth, over 27.5 trillion in failing trades in Europe in 2022. Remember how difficult it is to short European companies. A high percentage of this number is North American companies. Why is this not front page news? Investors and pension funds are being robbed on a daily basis, and there is nothing stopping the endless pillaging of North American markets by our own funds, buy our own mutual funds, buy our own ETFs, buy our own BlackRocks, Citadels, SACs, and etc. Anson the Toad has managed to stay one step ahead of Canadian regulators. How hard is that? They're sound asleep. But he says not in the United States, who we believe are already looking into this. This is over 2 years ago. Doesn't excite me. Because a lot of the counterfeiting isn't actually done through its fund. Instead, Anson is doing this through hundreds of offshore accounts, which they then trade through these various untraceable offshore agency. And an insider is telling him this. Anson may even legally take a short position within its main fund in Canada, but then will use the other accounts to drive the price down. The point is to keep putting pressure on the stock and eventually scare all buyers out of the trade. None of this can be traced by the regulators who don't even know where to look. However, Anson's fingerprints will be over everything. And the best place to look is where the company is listed via an audit of the stock and working backwards. This scheme has been incredibly lucrative for the Toad, which has achieved returns that a fund following its published strategy should not have been able to achieve. Regulators will need to go through their books carefully and find out how many offshore accounts the fund controls and how they actually have achieved the returns they claim over the past 8 years. Now it's 11 years. Anson Funds alone has had a huge negative impact on the Canadian capital markets. Not only has Anson Funds destroyed tens of billions of dollars in investor money, but it has destroyed countless companies over the last decade. The problem regulators face. Regulators have a very hard time following. They're all promoted beyond their DEI Peter principle sweetheart selves. They have a hard time following and proving this because the illegality goes through multiple jurisdictions. Further muddying the waters is the existence of dark pools, off-exchange trades, and intra-broker deals. How can a regulator track all this? Well, if they're waiting on Ann Wagner, they're never going to figure it out. With no transparency hedge, funds like Anson can get away with almost anything and present clean books to regulators in their jurisdiction. It won't last forever, though. Yes, it will. Regulators are now aware and have slowly awakened to the game being played against them. In the United States, they are hiring lawyers to liaise. It's always good when you go into attack mode and you want to fight something. The best thing to do is to liaise, whatever the hell that means. That word became popular when I went on Wall Street, and I used to fight it. It's a meaningless word, but now it's acceptable. Liaise. All right. that's my disquisition on the toad. And now I want to go to Railtown, but I want to go through your comments first, because as I go to Railtown, I'm going to lose all your comments. Hey, so now what? Is Railtown? Yes, Railtown under 30 cents is a screaming buy. And I don't have very many comments, so good, I can move on. Did you already cover G-Bucks? No, I didn't cover G-Bucks. But Billy, I didn't own a lot of G-Bucks. But yesterday, and I didn't own a lot of Nixie, but yesterday, very risky for me. I'm just telling you, because I guess in Jennifer's disclosure world and in Stony Bones disclosure world, I guess I have to. But I sold my Nixie and I sold my G-Bucks yesterday to buy Railtown. I did it in the morning, so I paid the high of the day. I paid the high of the day in Railtown. I have no more cash. If I could buy Railtown today, I would. And that's why I'm going to tell you, even though nobody listens to me anymore, those who are listening, I hope can make some money. Billy, you own 3,000 shares of G-Bucks. Okay, so let me just quickly. I don't want to, because I want to go watch this tennis, which I think starts in an hour. I want to talk about Railtown, but I want to make clear I don't have a big account. So I used to have a bigger account, and I could make a meaningful commitment to 4 or 5 trades. Now my account is so small that even when I make a concentrated commitment, my commitment is small. So it's not a lot of money. It's very disappointing for me to be at that stage right now. But you've heard some of the mistakes I made, and etc. However, middle ground, I think that to create a meaningful account, as William O'Neill used to teach years ago, sometimes you have to concentrate. You can't diversify. So anyway, middle ground. For G-Bucks, I didn't own a lot, but G-Bucks, to me, they had to get that deal done. And my own internal clock, they had to get it done by Thursday, because that's when the dividend gets there. Now, will they get it done? I'm sure now that I sold it, they'll get it done. So I'm not being negative on G-Bucks. I'm not being negative. But for me, my own deadline was, will they get that deal done by the dividend? And they didn't. So in my mind, I'm now, it's all of this is speculation, of course, but I'm now speculating that somehow they are going to get that deal done, which was announced 3 months ago or whatever, however long ago. And so I said to myself, it's going to take more time. That's the key thing. I think G-Bucks could take more time. Will it? No, I don't know. Everything could be great Monday, but I think G-Bucks is going to take more time. And then Nixie, same thing. I wanted Nixie to go to 6, 8, 12, 15, maybe higher. And I still think it will. The revenue numbers are great. The storyline is fantastic. But again, as I sit yesterday, I sat with a cup of coffee and I tried to just look at it critically. Doesn't mean I'm right. Does not mean I'm right. But I said of these three stocks, which are the ones I owned, I'm not saying anything bad about Finger. I'm not saying anything bad about the other 4-letter stocks that we hold. I'm just talking about my own decision making for my own tiny account, which is my IRA. I do have a little bit elsewhere, but it's not. It's my IRA that I'm trying to create a significant asset. So I sold my G-Bucks. I made a little bit of money, but not a lot. I mean, I was hoping that thing would run. And I sold my Nixie. Am I out of them forever? No, I'm not. I hope to get back into them. But what am I doing? I'm emphasizing Railtown now because I believe a couple of things about Railtown. I don't know what this high school guy is. Let's just hang out on StreamYard call. I'm on a StreamYard call. I have no idea what you're asking for, D high S. I have no idea what you're talking about. Is there a way to do it like a Zoom call? I don't know how to do that. If you want to set it up so we have dozens of people on a Zoom call together, show me how to do it instead of getting pissed off at me. I have no idea how to do a StreamYard call. None. All right, I'm going to show you a couple of things, and this is where I'll probably lose some of these comments. All right, let's see if I can add some of this. Okay, let's go with this first. And of course, they won't give me all of it. But let's see how much it does give me. So anyway, I decided, which is risky because it means I'm going to miss out on anything good with G-Bucks or Nixie over the next, I think 2 weeks is going to be enough for my strategy to work. But could it be all of June? Could it be until after July 4th? Yes, it could be that long. But I sat down with a pad of paper yesterday, early in the morning, and I said, what's going to happen over the next fortnight? Is Nixie going to triple or go up by 10x? And I think Nixie's going to go up, but I'm not sure how much over 2 weeks. I'm just talking about 2 weeks. Is G-Bucks going to go up over 2 weeks? I don't know. So in both cases, I don't know for sure. Of course, in the third case, I don't know for sure either, Railtown. But I'll go through some of my reasoning on Railtown. My point is that I think Railtown, all three of these owed us news, but I think Railtown, we're getting overdue for news. I think everything should be done in June, because that's the end of the second quarter, end of the first 6 months. And as I've told you, I think Railtown is going to go through a revaluation, the value S-curve. And I picked 350, but I'll go through some of that with you here shortly. So I said there's 3 scenarios. One, Nixie and GBUX go up and Railtown stays flat for another 2 weeks. 2, Nixie, G-Bucks, and Railtown go up together. And 3, Nixie, G-Bucks flat to somewhat higher, and Railtown really goes. Those are basically the three scenarios. And which one is more likely to happen? I don't know. I don't know. But then I said, what if Nixie goes up? What if G-Bucks goes up? What if Railtown goes up? Well, we all know G-Bucks could have a squeeze. It could have a squeeze. Nixie, I actually think it could have a squeeze, but Nixie just did a financing at $1.50, which confuses me a little bit. But the revenues look very strong in Nixie. So this is probabilities, this is risk. But I come down with that I think G-Bucks and Nixie both could go to $10, which is nice. That's huge. And I'm going to be mad if they do go up and Railtown doesn't. However, I think if Railtown goes up, I think it's first, obviously, there's not a lot of data in the charts. I think the first target is to break through 40 cents. And then the next target is to break through 65 cents, which I don't think will be much of a stall at all. And maybe it'll be $1.25 would be the next target. But after that, I think $3.50, $4, $5, completely achievable. I'll try to go through some of the numbers now. So I said to myself, which one would I be more angry about missing? Because it looks like the worst scenario is now presenting itself. The worst scenario is all three could go up at the same time. And I said, well, because I don't have a huge account. So which one would I regret the most not being in? And the clear answer was Railtown. The clear answer was Railtown. So what's my risk? My risk is that for 2 weeks, because that's kind of the time frame I have, I think it could take longer. Look, it could take another month. It could take 2 months. But for me, my time frame is the second, third week of June, maybe the fourth week of June. Just because Railtown's been out there for 14 weeks. It just feels like time has I mean, how much more time do they need? That's what it comes down to. And my goal had been to trade G-Bucks and Nixie so I could end up buying more Railtown. Well, that didn't come to pass. But what I perceive as a risk over the next 2 weeks, Nixie might go to $6, G-Bucks could go to $10, but Railtown could go to $3.50, $4, even $5. So if Nixie went up by 3x, but Railtown went up by 10x, when I went to make the swap, I'd actually get fewer shares. So unfortunately, I think time has come for me to focus solely on Railtown, and I'll give you some of the reasons. But I want to be clear. I'm not being negative on G-Bucks. I'm not being negative on Nixie, and I'm not being negative on Finger. I just think the timing is now for Railtown. And I'll make my proposition to you, to each of you today. I don't think you have any more time. I think you have to do it today. You might be able to do it Monday. You might be able to do it all next week. But I think in basic investor psychology, if it grabs you, do it today. Do it today. If you can buy 10,000 RLAIF today, it's 10,000 shares. The ask is, I mean, it's trading at 30 cents. I wish I had waited. Yeah, so the ask is 30 cents. You can buy it at 30 cents now. So that'll cost you $3,000 to buy today. 10,000 Railtown. $3,000. If you have cash, if you have to sell something, if you have to sell part of something, I'm suggesting to you, again, as an opinion, as an educational exercise, I am not a consultant for the company. But if you can afford to buy 10,000 of Railtown today, it'll cost you $3. My opinion, this is my projection. It's not a promise. By July 4th, plus or minus July 4th, I think a lot sooner. That's why I'm saying, that's why I did it. That's why I'm saying to you, I think you need to do something. If you have any interest at all, I wouldn't wait. I would do it today. But I think over the next 3 weeks or so, within that time frame, I think you can turn $3,000 into $35,000. If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what to tell you. But for me, that excites me. And if I can do this, then I can come back. And again, I defer to Lou's advice that he gave before, and I say it entirely respectfully. You take money out and you come back. Unfortunately, I think he got bamboozled by the Greek. All right, so now let me go through some numbers here. Let's take this down. And let's go to this one first. Okay. And middle ground. I'm also not negative on silver. I'm scared silver is going to break out. In fact, if people could do this idea with Railtown, if you were able to put $3,000 into Railtown right now, I think in 3 weeks you could buy 2 monster boxes. Conceptually, you could buy 2 monster boxes of silver. Or just keep Railtown. We'll see what happens. But this is from I'll show you the name of the group. It doesn't. Well, let me take Railtown down. Middle ground. Let me take him down so I can show you. This comes from finrofca.com. You can see it in the bottom. These are 90 AI merger and acquisition deals. And they screened search engine AI, large language model AI, legal tech, fintech, HR technology, computer vision, health tech, cybersecurity, marketing tech, data intelligence, and infrastructure. These are the areas that they screened. And the key here is over the last 5 years or so, what were the average multiples paid for revenue? And they give a chart here, but we'll come over to the left and you'll see that candlestick. and you'll see that the highest multiple paid was 54.8 times revenue. The average paid was 25.8 times revenue, and the lowest was 28.8. It might have been better to do a median, take out the high, take out the low, and see what it says. But what we have here is an average multiple paid to acquire AI companies of 25.8 times. Here's the key valuation methods for startups. You can have an EBITDA multiple, which I always find that bullshit because I can't understand the depreciation and et cetera. I mean, it all comes into a la land of accounting, but that's earnings before, et cetera. And that's just an accounting nightmare. Then there's the revenue multiple, and then there's a discounted cash flow. Well, in most of these cases, you don't have discounted cash flow. So let's focus on the one that is what's available in an early stage AI company, revenue. So the key focus is revenue growth and market capture. Well, let's talk about those two things. The RLAIF products, Conductor and 3 others, are closed AI systems, and they are first to market. I went to the website. They've taken down a lot of the, or I just couldn't find it. I'll look again while we're talking. But the markets they're addressing are hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue. That's the size of the markets. So they're first to market. They are proprietary, and they're closed. So I think they're going to get a big market capture, and I think they're going to have revenue growth. The use case, early stage and growth stage, that's where we are. We're early stage and growth stage, and that's why I think we're going to have a revaluation. In fast-moving sectors like software as a service and AI, that's exactly where we are. That's exactly where we are. The strengths of the revenue multiple is it's easy to use, and it scales, and it reflects the trends in the market. Okay, so we did that. This is multiples in various niches, and you can look at it. Large language model vendors, you get 50 times revenue. And that's, frankly, that's what Railtown's in, is that area. But also data intelligence, 40x, cybersecurity, 20x, infrastructure, 20x, HR. And we all need good HR departments, because where are you going to put the women? That's 25x, fintech 20x, health tech 25x, marketing technology comes in lower, I don't know, 15x, legal technology 20x, search engine 20x, computer vision 12x maybe, and I can't read the last column. It says 40x. I can't read what it's meant to say. Here are some images on those multiples. Cybersecurity 20x, infrastructure 20x, fintech 20x, legal 20x, search engine 25x, marketing tech 15x, computer vision 12x, health tech 28x, cybersecurity 20x, data intelligence 25x, LM, large language models, this is over 91 deals, 50x, data intelligence 40x, healthcare 25x, HR 25x, cybersecurity 20, infrastructure 21. And I went through the key valuation method. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take these all down. And I think I still have something more to show you, but maybe not. Let me look. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay, let's go over this. Let's remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. As time goes by. Let's remember this. A thigh is just a thigh. As time goes by. All right, here's an article. This appeared in the Canadian Securities Exchange magazine. It's an online magazine, and I can't quite read the date, but it was just a tiny minute ago. You can look it up. Railtown.ai Technologies, Corey Brandolini, Marwan Haddad. Railtown.ai Technologies software engineers get a co-pilot to help navigate the inevitable turbulence of development. Artificial intelligence is everywhere right now, and in the tech sector, thousands of entrepreneurs are looking for a way to plug AI into their business models. The problem is that anyone who's gone back and forth for more than a few minutes with a bot such as ChatGPT knows one thing: its responses are full of errors. For AI to be truly useful, it needs to be trained effectively and have a defined purpose. Railtown AI's technology, Canadian RAIL, here in the US it's RAILF, has not one product, but 3 designed for software developers in order to meet those criteria. The company's proprietary AI has been in stealth development for 3 years under the direction of CEO Corey Brandolini and CTO Marwan Haddad, a pair of self-described software geeks who became friends, fast friends, at previous companies. Their raison d'etre is making it easier for developers to create new software and manage ongoing products. The first offering is Railtown's root cause analysis copilot, which is designed to detect bugs within applications and then quickly pinpoint the root cause of the errors and the impact on the application. Right now, 40% of software engineers' time is on average spent identifying bugs and fixing them. This creates an enormous manpower challenge. According to Haddad, he and Brandolini once installed a fire engine light in the bullpen at their previous company that would go off whenever an issue arose. Senior engineers would drop everything to figure out what was going wrong, at times taking hours to diagnose the root cause of the error and the impact it had on the application. This resulted in delayed deliverables and pushing schedules behind. Root cause analysis eliminates the mad dash to comb through every line of code. The root cause analysis co-pilot hooks into the developer's machine. All right, now it gets tricky. I've got to find the next. All right, there it is. So it hooks into the developer's machine where it spots errors before they reach production, and it immediately determines the root cause and ticket where the problem originated. That's why Brandolini says the company doesn't design bots, it builds co-pilots. Quote, no matter how strong your team is technically, no matter how senior your developers are, when you are building complex applications, they are still fraught with functionality, logic, and syntax issues, unquote. He explains, quote, we have got it to the point today where AI can do a ton of the heavy lifting for you, unquote. The British Columbia-based company has also built an application to streamline the process of documenting product updates and enhancements, which are known in the industry as release notes. Writing release notes takes an enormous amount of time for a team. I don't know if there's a punctuation there. Takes an enormous amount for a team lead to produce, as they have to sift through dozens, if not hundreds, of completed work items to summarize and then write digestible release notes, which can be consumed company-wide. This is where Railtown's Release Notes Copilot comes in, as it continually analyzes all new software deployments, as well as any changes made to software, which will trigger the Copilot to automatically generate comprehensive and accurate release notes. The net result is saving hours of developer downtime. The root cause analysis Copilot and the release news Copilot are now available to over 400,000 Microsoft partners on the Microsoft Azure's marketplace at Railtown's website. Then there is Scrum Master, currently in the alpha stage of development, which could be Railtown's crown jewel. Scrum Master is a co-pilot in the truest sense of the word. Utilizing Railtown's AI engine, the Scrum Master co-pilot can provide reason-based answers related to a wide range of topics, including work items, deployment issues, build errors, bug fixes, performance issues, and much more. Developers can ask the Copilot specific questions or describe the problem which they are facing, and the Copilot will provide relevant and actionable information to help solve the problem. Brandolini calls Scrum Master a target language model, in contrast to large language models such as OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Google's Bard AI. integrating Railtown's proprietary AI into a development team's builds, code changes, and work teams creates a more precise learning environment than any large learning module could dream of. Quote, ChatGPT and BARD are trained off of what's readily available and free. So any painting by Picasso or any book written by T.S. Eliot, they can train their machine on it. But they do not have access to what goes on inside a company's own specific application, Brandolini says. Quote, because our AI is integrated with a company's projects, our machine is now training on that data, where OpenAI is trained on the internet. Or sorry, let me say that again. I'm having a really hard time reading this. It's so small. Because our AI is integrated with a company's projects, our machine is now training on that data. Where OpenAI is trained on the internet, our Copilot understands exactly what you and your team are building and can answer questions in real time. It also keeps the developer's data from being exposed to the broader internet, which means companies get the benefit of AI without exposing proprietary information to the prying eyes of big tech. Scrum Master, I miss that sentence. Scrum Master does something. To help make that a reality, Railtown plans to ramp up spending on market awareness, bravo, and user acquisition starting in June. That's where we are. The company expects a significant increase in paying customers and revenue growth over the next 2 to 3 quarters. Quote, this is not a bubble. This is just the beginning of the AI generation, concludes Brandolini. Artificial intelligence is having and is going to continue to have a profound and positive impact across all of our lives and across every business. The question investors should be asking themselves is, do you feel lucky? Well, do you? The question investors should be asking themselves and asking their financial advisor is, what is my AI investment strategy? I'm giving you one shop, stop. And this is, sorry, I left this out. Scrum, I left this all out, so let me finish it. Scrum Master could even be used to onboard new engineers by delivering them detailed information on application features and answering any questions they may have. That simply does not exist in the markets today, said Brandolini and Haddad, and it wouldn't be as close as it is today if the two hadn't become good friends. Quote, we were on a family holiday together in Whistler and sat down over a glass of wine, Marwan says. I've got this idea, Brandolini explains. I was like, I'm in 100%. Life works that way by chance. But when both people have a common drive and our goals are the same, it's an instant connection. The plan is to release Scrum Master in the next quarter. Version 1 was like a child in elementary school. Now version 6 or 7 is like a university professor, Brandolini exclaims. It went from learning how to understand what a bug is to where it is, and now it's using knowledge and reason to generate answers. Ask any developer if they would like this running for their team, and the answer will be 100% yes. To help make that a reality, Railtown plans to ramp up spending on market awareness and user acquisition starting in June. Okay, this is Railtown's blog. You can go to railtown.ai, and these are just the headlines. Railtown is now Conductor, the first end-to-end developer program, or the impact of DeepSeek on the artificial intelligence ecosystem, or quantum computing and artificial intelligence, or Railtown AI achieves SOC 2 type compliance, or Railtown AI partners with world-leading Center for Artificial Intelligence. Anyway, I encourage you to go to their website. I'm not going to go to it today. This is at Railtown's acquiree. The company they're going to acquire, which they've announced, is called AI Partnerships. Here is some of the few. I'll just read it. Just a few of the clients served by our affiliate network. You can see it. Allstate, PG&E, Volvo, McDonald's, Northwestern, FDA, Verizon, Coca-Cola, Pacific Life, Comcast, Nissan, Nationwide, PwC, Royal Bank of Canada, Beyond Bath and Beyond, AT&T, Ameritrade, MGM Sports, Bank of America, Sbarro, worst pizza ever, Samsung, JW Marriott, United Healthcare, Ascensus, American Express, GM, Walmart, St. Regis Pizza, Slut, and National Geographic. Okay, I'm sure I've lost all of the messages you were trying to give me. Now, before I look at messages, and I think Djokovic comes on in 10 minutes, I want to give you my numbers. These are not promises, these are estimations. So the action I'm calling you to consider is that you buy Railtown today while nobody's looking, and nobody is looking. So the action is buy RLAIF, and I'm going to say the goal might be 10,000 shares. Buy RLAIF, buy 10,000 shares. My near-term target my soon target and my long-term target. So here's my targets. Near term, 350. I think it has to break 40 cents, has to break 60 cents, it has to break $1.20. But I think it's possible that it'll be $1 next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. But then from that level, it could be 350 at any time. I think there's going to be a revaluation where the company starts at a higher level and then we go from there. So I think Railtown at 30 cents, look, I could be wrong, but I think this week is the last chance to buy it. Maybe you'll have all next week. Maybe you'll have all of June. But my gut instinct is now is the time. So my near-term target, 10x, soon. What do I mean by soon? I'd say over the next 2 to 3 quarters, you could see a great price. It could all happen more quickly. And then longer term, you could see 100x plus. And longer term, I'm just saying a year. The bond definition of long term. All right, so how do I get to those numbers? Let's just quickly go that, and then I'll try to answer some questions. These are back of the envelope numbers. I'm estimating that Railtown will achieve $100 million in revenues, or there will be a visibility of that amount over its 3 products, which I read the article. And I'm assuming that as they acquire AI partnerships, and as it's described, you can go read it in news releases, they roll up companies. There was a description on the internet 3 months ago, roughly, that these partners are currently doing $400 million in revenue. Well, I'm going to assume they roll up 20% of the companies represent 80% of the revenue. That's that old law of large numbers. That comes out to 320. So I'm using 300 million because I think the revenues probably have grown since that time. And when they start, I hate the word, when they start experiencing synergy, I think the revenues will grow. So I'm using 300 million. Hey, you can change this. You can do this. You can do these numbers yourself. So I come up with 400 million. I come up with 400 million in revenue, partly from Railtown's own products and partly from the companies they're buying. 400 million. Then I use 25x as the multiple for valuation. I just went through the pattern with you. I'm using slightly lower number, 25x. So 25x times 400 million gives you, and you can adjust this for whether you think it's reasonable or not. I'm just giving you my number, and then the amount of shares so I'm giving you I think a conservative revenue start and a somewhat conservative valuation. I could have gone with 50 because this is early stage and it's exciting. But I'm assuming that Railtown will achieve a $10 billion valuation. How long? Who the hell knows? Is that reasonable? I think so. I wouldn't be giving to you if I didn't think so. But it assumes a lot of things. That's how many shares are outstanding right now. I don't know how many shares they're going to have to issue, if any. I don't know how they're going to do it. Anyway, that gives a number. That gives a number of $71 a share. So to get rid of or to allow for all of the various unknowns and the risk, I chopped that in half. To allow for the risk of just, it's all back of the envelope. Instead of $71, I bring it down to $35 a share valuation, just to allow more shares outstanding. This goes down, anything. Then what I do to get my near-term target or my soon target is I take 10% of that. I just take 10% of that. That's $3.50. $3.50. $3.50. 10% of the calculation. Anyway, you can do your own analysis, come up with your own value. That's mine, 350. And I think the stock could be 60 cents or $1 as soon as next week. It could take 2 weeks. It could take 3 weeks. But the point is, right now you could spend $3,000 and set yourself up, I think, in the near term for $35,000. And if I'm right about the upside, I mean, $3,000 could turn into $350,000 if you're willing to wait, which I'm not necessarily telling you. We'll learn more, but it's a big number and it's a big play. And anyway, I'm done on that. Let me see what you say. Who was buying finger? I think I would go with the toad, and I think they were creating synthetic shares. That's what I think they were doing. All right, Michael, I'm going to write that down. I am going to write that down. Right now, Michael, from the people that have answered, I think it's not me, it's us. I think we're at over 1.1 million shares. I'd like to get to 2, but whatever. One of my goals, what's in it for me, I guess, but it's what's in it for you. If 1 million shares went to $10, that's $10 million. But imagine if it went to $35, or imagine if we had more shares. It's enough money that collectively we could morph into a company or a venture capital firm or an exchange. And maybe some of you would be loyal to me and friends. See what we can do. All right, so Michael has added 3,000. Okay. Matthew Mall. All right, you're great, Matthew. I'm writing that down. Well, I've been a smartass too, and I say a lot of provocative things, not necessarily because I'm right, but I just want people to think. Steve, I think I already have that, but I'm going to check it. Steve, 312,500 total. Or maybe that's more than what. Nix has stared up. Yeah, I think Nix looks great, BW. I'm not being negative on it. I'm being too cute by half, probably. But I think Railtown could triple just to be blunt. I think Railtown could triple next week. And Nixie might take 2 or 3 weeks to get to 3. On the other hand, Nixie could happen on Monday. I don't know. I have imperfect information. But I want to own Railtown while I can build a large position for free. It's not free. And there's risk, But you're buying it at 30 cents. I think soon $3 is going to be cheap to the world. So why not buy today while no one's looking? You've got 3 hours to do it. Account settings, I think I already know that. Okay, maybe I don't have that. Okay, account. I'll check that. 2-6. That's great. I think that's awesome. It could be. Don't look at Nix. Is Nix up? Okay, I'm glad Nix is going up. It's scary though. All right, here's some news that I didn't say, and I think I already have Sparky. 85,000. I'm going to read what you say here, Sparky. Rebecca Kurzweil, the IR department at Railtown, said the AI acquisition is moving forward, and you own 85,000 shares. That's awesome. Julie Kim bought 5, so now she's at 97, 19.7. We'll figure it out. My whole thing is if we could provide capital in an environment where companies are safe, and maybe that means physical shares, I don't know. If we did it once or twice successfully, we'd have more business than we knew what to say grace over. And we could be changing our markets. All right, Railtown right now is a little more expensive. No, it's still 30 cents. Well, it's an hour. What? This says 2 days ago quote. Very, very strange. I'll go to Market Watch. Yeah, it's still 30 cents. Still 30 cents. It's a great opportunity. All right, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to sign off. If I wasn't clear, I'll just say it again. I think everyone who even is having a moment of, I'd like to own that. What I'm telling you, I shifted from stocks I believe are going to go up, particularly Nixie. And I took action yesterday so that I know it's a small account, but my account is entirely Railtown. Why did I do that? Because I think now is the time. And yes, I might miss out on Nixie, but if I wait for Nixie, Railtown could be $2. So it's just tough luck Charlie for me. But I think Railtown, now, today, you got 3 hours. I think you should be buying Railtown. It's not financial advice. I don't know your situation. I'm not a consultant with Railtown. I have no pecuniary interest in this other than I'd love to see you guys make money. I've already given out the ideas. Maybe there's something we could do together. I could reduce my audience to people who are wise ass, but they're at least constructive wise asses, and they're not just here to shill. So anyway, I'm going to go watch Djokovic. All my best to everyone. Peace, love, and happiness. Pray for peace in the world. Maybe I'll come on later tonight. I almost certainly will come on over the weekend. Monday, I'm not positive about Monday during the day. I can't remember. Something tells me I have something to do. But I'll be here. I'll be here. So, ciao, Bella. Take care.